We believe health is the foundation that unlocks freedom. The freedom to live fully, to be an asset and not a burden, and to chase what truly matters. Through daily practices and proven frameworks, we are here to help you build deep health, find lasting peace, and live with your heart on fire. Welcome to the chase.
Hello, Ben.
What's up, Patrick?
Life is good. We got sweater weather. We got sweater weather, and I'm happy. You're in a sweatshirt. I'm in a sweater. I don't really like the cold, but I like sweater weather.
You wear like the smoking
sweaters. I don't know if that's what.
Which is a really weird term for a piece of clothing, but I could never pull that off. Like if I'm a sweater guy, it's all black, traditional, maybe gray.
Yeah, but I'm just always shocked when I see you in not gym clothes.
When
I see you in real life and you're wearing jeans, I'm like, what? Wait, where are we?
Oh yeah, that's if I'm wearing jeans. You know, Harley's like, why are you dressed up? But yours could also double if you like pulled it across and put a belt around it. It's like a robe as well.
That's true. Yeah, it's like a robe.
I just don't know how long it is because I can only see it from the chest up.
I'm not wearing any pants, so that's why.
There we go. Pants optional.
Pants optional. Check us out on YouTube if you want to see my sweater. Let me know what you think about it. Okay, we're going to talk about something today. This is months ago, and I made a note, and I finally got around to chatting with you about it, which is in a CompTrain meeting, again, months ago, you started talking about some, I don't know if you want to call them core values, but we were talking about some things that are sort of essential to the brand of CompTrain. And you laid out 3 of them, and in your way, of course, they all share a letter. So you laid out crew, capacity, and character. As again, I don't know if you use them as core value. Like you can tell us where this big picture came from. But I really wanted to talk to you about the first one of those, which is crew. In large part, because we talk about connection all the time. It's one of the 5 factors of health. We talk about connection with self quite a bit. We don't talk too much about connection with nature, but that can maybe be on our list for things to dive into this year. And we talk about connection to others, and we often talk about it in the context of a relationship, or certainly you and I talk about it a lot in terms of being a parent, being a dad. But I want to broaden this out. I want to talk about crew a little bit as it relates to this connection with other things. But if it makes sense, why don't we start with the CompTrain end of the things, crew, capacity, character, where did that come from? What did that mean? And then let's move ourselves into a conversation around the importance of crew.
You're right that this was laid out as the values, our core values, if you will, in terms of the business jargony part of it. It's what you value. Yep. It's what do you think is important. And I think it's really important to define that as an organization. The way that we've defined that is, of course, it's an alliteration because I think he keeps it.
Yep.
It's not that it just needs to be memorable.
Yep.
So crew, capacity, and character. Character is not how you act in peacetime, but that's your personality. Character is how you act when you are challenged, when things aren't going your way. Capacity is your health, your vitality. It's what can you do? Are you a high performer? Are you reliable? Are you able to help others? Are you an asset, not a burden? And then the first one is crew, which is purposely on first. I think it's probably the highest of those. So when I laid this out to the team, I laid it out in the example I gave was, or the parable, the story, if you will, doing meaningful things with other people, I just think is so vital to what we are trying to do, which is live a meaningful life. Mm-hmm. And the example I gave was on my bucket list. It's been on my bucket list, and everyone that listens to the show regularly knows that I'm very regimented in terms of the structure and the vision I have for my life and the way I track this. And it's been on my 3-year, call it bucket list, 3-year picture since I started doing this, was to go heli skiing. Mm-hmm. Like that's just one of the things I want to do within the next 3 years of my life. And it was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah. And honest, but here's like, if you go like, well, why haven't you done that? And the reason I haven't done that is because I haven't found the people that I want to share that experience with. Mm-hmm. To me, that it could be the most enjoyable thing that I could do. And I want to do it with people that first can ski, but I want to do it with people that
capacity.
I really, right, capacity and character,
and
right?
Character, yeah.
Yep. But I want to be able to I want to have, I don't, like me going heli skiing by myself, I have zero interest in that. It would feel more like a chore than something that would be exciting. And it's the same thing. Like I've had epic, amazing powder days, and I have them by myself, and they are not the memorable ones. They're just not a thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's about doing these cool, awesome things with other people.
Okay, so how do we then, I like this, and in some ways it's crew capacity and character, but it's almost like crew : capacity and character, because it strikes me as the crew you want, and maybe I just have heli skiing in my head too much, are like you want them to be capable and you want them to be of high character. Am I reading into that too much?
Yeah, of course we want that. That's like what we're actually trying to do when we do this, if we were to back up a little bit, is try to like, what does the ideal team player look like? Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what we want to do, is surround yourself with those type of people. People that have high character, people that are incredibly capable, and people that want to be a part of a team and part of something bigger. Yep. The saying that we've used a lot internally, and I didn't create this, but I kind of morphed it off of other stuff. I think Warren Buffett actually had the original thing I saw of this, which is surround yourself with people that want to see you win. No drama, no gossip, no toxicity. People that challenge you, but it's about good vibes and growth. Surround yourselves with people that want to see you win.
Yep. That
not just cheerlead, they challenge you, call you on your crap.
Yep.
But also not in a negative, toxic way, in just the most positive, good vibes and growth way. If you surround yourself with people like that, here's going back as well. What we want to do is, we talk about this all the time, is the 5 factors of health. We want to create an environment which makes it easy to train 5 or 6 days a week, eat real food, sleep 8 hours, think like a warrior, and connect with yourself, others, and nature. The environment is going to be mostly impacted by the other human beings in that environment. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's the cliche thing, but the science is backing it up. Like, there's so much robust science to back that up. There was Dr. McLeod of Harvard. I have this written down, so I'm just going to. Dr. McLeod of Harvard states, through a big study, the people you habitually associate with will determine as much as 95% of the success or failure in your life. And the reason for that is we have mirror neurons in our brain, which subconsciously mimic the behaviors and attitudes of others. So if you surround yourself with driven, motivated, positive people that look for opportunities, that don't complain, that want to go and better themselves and want to lift up the other people around them, you're more likely to do just that. If you surround yourselves with victims or violence or toxic relationships or abuse, neglect, addiction, you're more likely to be the single biggest thing we can do is control our environment. And the single biggest thing that influences our environment is not the temperature or the sun or urban or living in the farmlands. It is the people you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. It's slightly tangential, but what I think about is what we've talked about a lot before, which is the concept of owning your attention. I mean, that really is what it comes down to, is whoever or whatever is getting your attention is creating the reality in which you live. And so obviously when we talk about this, or when we think about this, it's often couched in like, whatever screen you happen to be looking at, but in a very 3D kind of way. If I spend a lot of time with you, Ben, you're getting my attention, and whatever you're giving back to me, I will then reflect back, right back to the idea of the motor neurons. And so it's in real life, and it's also in not real life, in digital space. And so it's not, so this idea of crew, while I think we're going to mostly talk about the people we surround ourselves with, I think it extends beyond just the individuals in the room with us, but also becomes, who do we listen to? Who do we watch? Who are we paying our attention to? Because they are in fact creating our conception of the world and our conception of ourselves.
So yes, that is a little bit different though than what we're talking about when we say crew.
Agreed.
because
But I think the principles are the same is what I mean.
Yeah, the next kind of line item to this is you can get wrapped into that, because I would call, we did a whole show on this, right? Which is if you get into, because yes, it is the movies you watch, the books you read, the things you follow, but the big one there is, this is the two old guys complaining about the social media.
Oh, TikTok.
So if you get kind of so deep into that, and even if you're surrounding yourself with the good ones, social isolation. This is actually like crew in real life.
Totally. Yep.
So I forget if it was, what's his name, that wrote that Harvard study of adult development.
Robert Waldinger.
Thank you. So it's close relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was also the build the life you want. The way that they said that is, one of the F's that they focused on was friendships.
Yep.
It wasn't just a matter of like, are you sending the text messages?
Yep.
Even if it's like a really deep relationship, but you only see the person once a year, it is, the frequency matters. So it's truly like, right, the words there matter, like surround yourself. Surround yourself with the people that want to see you win. Surround yourself with people that lift you up. Because BYU, Brigham Young University, and University of North Carolina did a study on isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the crew thing. Like, you need the people around you, actually around you. And this is bonkers. This is a meta-analysis, meaning it's a study of studies. So they studied 148 studies with totaling over 308,000 people. The studies over a 7-year period. It was published in the Science Daily in 2010. What they found was social isolation is worse for you than smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Yep.
So if we're thinking about how this pieces into health, like, crew matters. It's huge. Like, and this is what the whole Harvard study for adult development was about.
Yep.
Their whole thing was, they're the ones that brought this to light. They're actually the reason. We found that in about 2010, it was when we came across that study. That's where we put Connect into this framework, because it was so important. It was as much as smoking. To kind of put like some other numbers to that, not smoking improves health outcomes by 40%. What they found is that those with strong social connections increase their health outcomes by 50%. Mm-hmm. That's huge. Like, we're talking 15 cigarettes a day. Having strong social connections is better for you than quitting that. This is something that can't be ignored in terms of the health outcomes, in terms of chasing what truly matters. This has to be up there with the other ones.
And yet it's interesting. We did an episode on, the Surgeon General put out a report on parental stress. Before that, he had put one out on that he called Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation. And I only bring that up to say, like, how are these things true at the same time, where we know how important crew is to our health, our happiness, our fulfillment, et cetera, right? Whatever that 95% stat that you gave us of like 95% of your success or failure. And at the same time, here yet we are in a place where the Surgeon General of the United States says we're in an epidemic of loneliness. The contrast is so strong.
But it's the same thing with everything else. Very few people aren't aware that processed foods are bad for you.
Yep.
Yet we are in an epidemic of obesity and chronic disease because people eat too much crap.
Yep. ...
It's not just eating the crap, though. It's what everyone points to when they go chronic disease. It's just like, this is what also leads to disease. So let's just talk about this from the biological perspective. And this is where you are not just biology. It's all intertwined. This is the psychological, biological model. Like the brain, the emotion, it's all one thing. It's not like you have your body and then your mind. It's like, obviously, we start thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's all connected.
Yep.
And there's a great book by Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. It's some pretty dense science, but the premise of it is incredible. And the premise is, Every cell on your body, every cell, the trillions of cells in your body are trying to understand the environment in which you're living in. Because based on the environment, they will act in certain ways. This is a really efficient system. If you are in an environment of threat, meaning starvation, attack, whatever it might be, they are going to act in a certain way to keep you alive. If you are not under a threat, they're going to act in another way. The threat one puts the central nervous system into the sympathetic state, which diverts blood away from the gut, shuts down the immune system, and the 13 different systems in the body, from the reproductive to the immune to the digestive to the muscular and cardiovascular, all respond. They all respond in an effort to help keep you alive. One of those things, and this all matters, like one of those things is the immune system deregulates. If the cells on your body perceive a threat, they will tell through, basically every cell has a little membrane around it called a receptor. Inside is the effector. The receptor takes in info. It goes, hey, we're under threat. Effector, go do this thing. Switch to the sympathetic state, fight or flight, immune system suppress. Very efficient. Meaning like all hands on, don't fight the pathogens, don't fight the virus. We got bigger things. The saber-tooth tiger is going to get us. So let's get the immediate threat out of the way. That's really efficient for real perceived threats. What we all understand that, except that what we don't understand is that your body's respond to that in the same way. If like you almost get in a car accident, same thing, but then we get into road rage and the actual real threat, that shock in this, you feel like everyone feels that, knows that sense is like that. You're the shock of it. That's the shock of epinephrine coursing through your body. So you respond like crazy. That's built in. That's awesome. That serves us so well. You don't have to think about it. You just swerve the car. What then doesn't serve us is the after effect of that, which then you stay in fight or flight and you have road rage. And then you chase the guy down, or you live with this stress, that freaking guy, and you're like, that is what creates the longer prolonged is not helping. Not even that big of a deal if it's gone after a minute or two or something. But what if every time you get in the car, your cortisol goes up? Every time you get in the car, your immune system goes down. Every time you get in the car, fight or flight. Okay, we're not even in the car that much, but what if you have bad relationships? If you have a bad relationship, that is the equivalent of a twig going snap in the woods, and you as the caveman goes fight or flight. I'm going to, because I might get kicked out of the tribe. Bad relationship, I might get kicked out of the tribe. If I'm kicked out of the tribe, I die of exposure. This means that if you don't have strong relationships, your body is in a prolonged, chronic state of stress. Not just the stress you get from the project being due. This is the emotional stress related to bad relationships. Your body can't tell the difference. Remember, it's in a dark cave. It's trying to take in the information that comes in through the five senses. In this case, mostly through your eyes and ears. You see or hear something, and then your brain then interprets that as, whoa, we don't like this. It then goes down to the cells in the body, which don't have brains. They just go fight, 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 fight. And it's the same thing. And then what happens is you depress your immune system. And then when the immune system is depressed, when an actual thing happens, like a pathogen or a virus comes in, or the cancer cells that we all have in our body all the time anyway, that we're constantly fighting with this really effective immune system. When that gets suppressed, they don't get to do their job. And now we have the big issues. This is not the foo-foo-y thing of like, just like make sure you hug somebody and you'll feel better. And like, even like, oh, and then you have oxytocin and that's a feel-good hormone. On a cellular level, your body doesn't understand if this is a real threat or not. And it's going to lead to a chronic disease.
Let's pause to say thanks to a few sponsors, and we'll be right back to the conversation. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Visit betterhelp.com/excellence to get 10% off your first month of online therapy. 2025 is your blank canvas, and you get to choose what story you'll write on its pages. Maybe you're ready for a fresh chapter, or perhaps it's time to revise some old narratives that no longer serve you. With BetterHelp's network of over 30,000 licensed therapists, you have access to professional support as you craft your story. These qualified professionals can help you develop the tools and insights you need to write your best chapters yet. Think of it as having a skilled editor for your life's story, helping you create the narrative that you want to live. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/excellence to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/excellence. We're sponsored this time around by Defender, where durability meets modern innovation. Visit LandRoverUSA.com to design your Defender today. When was the last time you truly challenged yourself? Well, since you listen to Chasing Excellence, we assume it happens regularly. And since the Defender family of vehicles was created for those who never stop pushing boundaries, that means it was created for you. Whether you choose the Agile 90, Versatile 110, or Expansive 130, you're getting a vehicle that exudes confidence and competence. Inside, you'll find thoughtful storage solutions and quality craftsmanship that prove adventure doesn't mean sacrificing comfort. Visit LandRoverUSA.com to design your Defender today. Okay, now let's get back to the show. I brought up the social isolation. We've talked about bad relationships. Are those equally dangerous to us in your mind? In other words, are bad relationships worse than having no relationships at all? Or are they just different problems that we all collectively need to solve for?
It's like, what's worse, ice cream or a candy bar? Like, it's like,
Yeah, clearly a candy bar.
Two flavors. I agree with that. The honest answer is I don't know. I don't know which is worse.
Yep.
I almost want to say isolation is worse. I think there's nothing worse than not having any contact with other humans.
Yeah.
You know, you think about in terms of prisoners, the worst thing you can do to a human being is put them in solitary confinement. Worse than physical torture. When given the choice between the two, prisoners choose the physical torture over the solitary confinement. Now, I've never put in either of those, so I can't speak firsthand. I don't have the research to back it up, but my gut level says that isolation is the hardest things for humans to endure.
Mm-hmm. So how do we start rooting the problem so that we can fix it in your mind? And again, maybe we stick with the toxic or the bad relationships if that feels like it's the more prescient one.
Well, I think the problem is the antidote, which is surround yourself with.
Yep.
So if you don't have people in your life that you feel like in your life in a meaningful way, this isn't like I had that coach one time when I was in high school. This isn't like I had that one mentor. This isn't like I have that one friend that I see once a year. This is, are you surrounded with people that want to see you win, that don't bring negativity, drama, or gossip, that challenge you, that lift you up, that challenge you to become a better version of yourself? If you don't have those, we need to start seeking them out. This is the awareness, intention, and action. Now we can bring awareness to that. Maybe I don't have that. And by the way, outside of my family is certainly that. I have that in a big way with my family. I am lucky enough that my profession has that. I'm surrounded with people just like that.
Yep.
My gym, the place I work out, there's 300 other people like this. This is why the CrossFit movement has been so meaningful.
Yep.
Before this, the gym environment did not have that. The gym environment was put your headphones on, go do your set of bench press, do your pec flies, and then maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the elliptical, reading People magazine. It has holistically changed that. It's why we seek out church. It's why we seek out community. It's why we seek out people of similar values. So this is, for myself, I feel like I have this in a big way in terms of my family life and in terms of my professional life and in terms of my fitness pursuits. But I feel like I could do a better job on this with friends. And I have a couple really good close friends. But I had this conversation with my best friend a month ago. And I was like, we're not seeing each other enough.
Yeah.
Like when we see each other, this is so uplifting. This is so powerful. We both know how much we love each other. We end text messages with, I love you. We need to do this more frequently to actually get the benefit that we want to this. He was like, is that the case? Like, does it matter like this? I was like, I really think it does. Like, if we're going to surround ourselves, us seeing each other, we would always schedule once every other month we would get together. This should be the norm, not the exception.
Yep. Yeah, that word that you just hit on, I think is until you hit on it, I think it floated past me, but the idea of surround, I think is really important. And it's we use the word with intention, but again, you can hear it and not think about it. But surrounding yourself with people who want to see you win is not, I see you once a quarter, right? I see you every once in a while. I see you when our calendars collide and it just so happens that we're in the same place at the same time. Surround demands intention. It demands effort. And the thing about relationships, the thing about especially non-family relationships, is that they're so wildly inefficient that you have to be okay with that. It is not efficient to go, I've got a good friend in New Hampshire. It is not efficient for me to get in the car for 3 hours and go see him.
That's right.
But that is what it demands. And if we're going to surround ourselves with people who want to see us win, sometimes we have to do the really inefficient thing.
Yeah. And we do what we can with what we have as well, right? Very few things that are meaningful in life act as light switches. They're not binary. It's not on, it's off. So your friend in New Hampshire, if you're not going to drive the 3 hours, is it more of a daily text where there's this constant conversation instead of the rare one, which is every 3 weeks you get something? It's this constant conversation. And this is what I've, in terms of this is the early part of the year, we're in January. I always set up my 1 year goals. This is my 1 year goal for myself this year, is to create, it's written out, more meaningful, deep friendships. This is the thing that I'm going to be incredibly proactive about this year. And I don't have all of the strategies. I don't have all of the ways to do that, but I'm taking small, meaningful steps now. The example is like that best friend. We have something scheduled in 2 weeks instead of 2 months. I just saw him 2 weeks ago. So it's like, it's going to be more frequent. I'm doing a daily text to somebody to try to keep the ball rolling. And I envision this being like I get the 5, 6, 7 people that I try to pull in. And then from there it turns into a conversation instead of I talk every 5, 6 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I am similar to you in terms of a focus for the new year. So cool to hear. We're going to keep talking about this. Anything as we wrap up, anything else on this conversation or this topic of crew that we want to hit on before we bounce?
I would go to the high level part of the whole prescription, which is create an environment in which makes it easy to.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it. That both is easy to create the crew, but also recognize that as you do that, the other things get easier. There's, similar study, which it is, you are 45% more likely to be overweight if your friends are overweight than if your family is overweight.
Yep.
I went back and looked at I think in previous episodes I've reported that as 161%. I went back and looked at it, and there's some people that are kind of questioning the methods of which that study was conducted. So the more robust one now is it's the difference. It's actually 42.5%. The number doesn't matter. It's not the letter, it's the spirit.
Yep.
It's not necessarily your genes that are determining if you're overweight. It's your friends. Because if your friends are going to Buffalo Wild Wings and ordering pitchers of beer and wings slathered in barbecue sauce 4 nights a week, the chances of you doing that are really high.
Yep.
Right? So the idea is create the environment which makes it easy too. The other part of that is, okay, how am I going to get you got to put yourself out, this is why the CrossFit gym space is so powerful.
Agreed.
Right? Because people connect so well in that environment.
Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening or watching so you do not miss another episode. For more frameworks and daily practices, visit chasingexcellence.email. And don't forget to tap the link in the show notes for today's full listener guide, where we break down the key ideas and provide actionable steps to help you put them into practice. Until next time, keep building health, finding freedom, and living with your heart on fire.